think you're the first guest to bring us food, so I appreciate that, bro.
Yeah, no problem. You know, I want to make sure that, you know, you guys know how much I really appreciate the hospitality and want to make sure to, you know, put it in kind, you know what I mean? And I feel like nothing breaks the ice more than munching on some food before we're having a nice conversation together.
Yeah. Where'd you say the pizza was from again?
It's from Azalea Inn.
That's in Norfolk?
Yes.
Okay. Bro joined my live. First of all, thank you for doing this with in such short notice. I know we kind of had it booked for later this year.
I'm glad we were able to knock it out.
Yeah, it feels like it lined up perfectly. You just had this event. Bro joined my live like a week or two ago, and you were telling us about this cosplay event that you were DJing at.
Yes.
That was your event, right? You threw?
Yes.
Invited us out. Actually, Avery was in the comments, like in the live, and she was like super hyped about it. Like, oh my God, I want to go. He's telling everybody in the live, like, if you're in the live, you get free tickets, come out.
Yeah.
So the girl I ended up coming with was my friend Haley. Avery couldn't come, so she was feeling sick that night. Mm-hmm. She's my friend, like pretty much the only friend that I have that's into like anime and cosplay and stuff like that. I had a lot of fun though.
Yeah.
The event was cool though.
It's fun. You know, I think that any environment where you're around a bunch of people that are excited, it's contagious. And that's why I think music festivals are so much fun. It's like you really feel people buzzing. And when people are dressed up in, you know, their favorite characters and stuff like that, I think that it gives people a really good reason to, you know, connect with each other, right? I mean, that's what people are looking for, like reasons that you have in common. You're like, oh, I like this thing. And so I think it's just a fun way, you know, like it's a costume party that's not happening in Halloween pretty much, you know? So, and whenever I would go to like, you know, anime conventions and stuff like that, I feel like just being around people that are so excited about how they look and other people are excited about how they look, it's like really, really makes for an exciting scene.
That's the vibe I got from it. Like it was like a judgment-free zone. Like
yeah.
I felt like everybody was having like a genuine good time. Like you go to some places, certain type of events and stuff, it's like it could be this like cool factor. People are acting like cool or acting how they feel like they're supposed to act.
Yeah.
But it just felt like everybody was just having a great time there.
Yeah, exactly. You know, in any type of scenario, you're always going to have pretentious scenesters that, you know, like you go to a punk show and you have like, oh, I got like the most ratty leather faded patches. I look all great, right? And so, but what I like about especially what we're talking about, like anime con scene type of deal, is that it's a way that you can reinvent yourself. It's a way that you're coming out of your shell. Some people, the way that they come out of their shell is making another shell within, right? And so when you have someone who's super duper like shy and they don't want to talk, but all of a sudden they go to this convention with a bunch of people and they dress up as their favorite character, like it's giving them newfound energy, enthusiasm.
Is it like wearing glasses? Like, you know, you pull glasses on and you're like kind of hidden from the world? Is that the people
or like wearing
that?
A mask, really, right?
Yeah.
And it's like when you put a mask on, it's like you can be whatever you want to be. And I think that that's like a vibe that a lot of people really like when it comes to, and also like, to be honest, like a lot of people that are into like anime and stuff like that, they can tend to be shy or tend to be, you know, not very, you know, in their day-to-day life, high energy, confident, things like that. And this is a way that they can like, it's like a cheat code to get there, right? And so I see, you know, all the time, like I have a friend who is just the same thing. Like she's very shy. She's, you know, not very, very high spoken, right? And
but when at the
con,
event,
she's like a social butterfly, and she sees all the people that she hasn't seen since the last time, and they're all like, you know, it's a lovely way, I think, that people can connect and share their fandom without, like you said, it being like some weird pretentious thing where you're wearing like a band t-shirt of like some obscure band that broke up 15 years ago and no one's gonna, you know, be as cool as you are, right? And it's a good way to like be able to get that of sharing something that you're passionate about. And then it's also like, for example, the people that like participate in the contest, like a lot of them like made the outfits and, you know, sewing and commissioning. And that's like a whole cottage industry right there of people that make custom props and photographers that they do the photo shoots and stuff like that. It's like a whole thing, right? And so, you know, I've always been a fan of things like that. And it's just one way that, and also like I really like NecoCon. Like one of the things was that we're playing on the main stage there this year, and for listeners who don't know, NecoCon is Virginia's oldest anime convention. It's been happening 26 years. It happens actually right down the road from here, right across from the Hampton Coliseum.
Across from the Coliseum?
Yeah, at the convention center right there, right across from the Coliseum.
Okay. Well, I feel like I haven't been. Have you been to that one? I know the Coliseum. I don't know about.
Okay. Right. There's an Embassy Suites that's right next door to it. And it's, I'm like, hey, essentially, like, I want to throw a party. And, this is a big convention that has like 8,000 people that come every year. So what a great way to put them together than to do this costume contest and all benefit charity. I love putting together events, so it just seemed like a good way to, make it all happen and have something that people would think it's fun to go to, right?
Breaking out of your that was kind of interesting. You said people break out of their shells by creating a new shell within.
Yeah, exactly. And so I think that, for example, a lot of people, it's like, oh, like I'm only a people person when I'm drinking, right? Let's say people that say that, right? But really it's like you're just kind of like putting on this, like if like the only way that you're personable is because you got to get fucked up, right? It's kind of like you're replacing one thing with another thing, right? Which I'm not saying is good or bad, but I'm just saying like it's a tool, right? There, that's what I'm trying to say. And so just like some people use, drinking and drugs as a tool to be more, socially butterfly, get the girl, feel good about yourself, whatever it is, like dressing up is just like in cosplay is another tool that I feel like people use to like, accentuate what they are and, things like that.
I know you said that people often make their own costumes.
Yeah.
Is that because they just don't exist, or people just want to make their own thing, or how does that work?
Both. Like, for example, do you know what like Dragon Ball Z is?
Yeah, so that's kind of growing up in like elementary school. I love Dragon Ball Z.
Me too.
We
like
drew
Tsunami,
Dragon Ball Z a lot. I didn't know if that was considered like cool by the cosplay community,
it's cool.
or if that's like the basic bitch of anime.
It's like both, right? I mean, but the thing is like everyone's gonna know about it. So if you do it right, and like for example, what I'm trying to say is like I can go on Amazon right now and type in like Goku outfit, and they would, I could buy something from some store that's mass produced and. It's made out of, not the best material, or I could get someone to like custom fit, custom shoes, patch, custom make my patch, have like a patch with my name on it on the back and have a whole ass Goku outfit that's made for me. And people that are like, people that they don't know about the whole scene, they're going to look at it and be like, oh my God, that looks good. But people that are in that game, they're going to appreciate it. And they're going to say, oh, wow, like that's a great game you're playing. And who's the person that took your photo and who's the person that made your costume and who did your hair. And it's like this whole rabbit hole of like I said, it's like a whole industry of people that, and so you're right. It's like sometimes it's like some obscure anime that people don't know about. And the only way that you're going to be able to look like it is if you make the whole thing from scratch. Or another reason is, like I said, it's a very well mass produced thing and you just want to be different, right? It's kind of like you either get the band t-shirt that is on tour that like everyone knows, or you get the t-shirt that like only the fan club has, and the only people that are even going to know that are people that are fans of the band, right? And so they're going to be like, oh, like for example, there's a future funk artist that I love, and he came out with a reversible bomber jacket, and it took me 1.5 years to get this thing, because what it is like, they would go on Twitter and say, okay, in 24 hours, this is going to drop, at 6 p.m. here, this is when it drops, right? But it's in Tokyo time. So it was really like at 4:00 in the morning. And so there I was.
Waiting up all night.
Yeah. So there I was sitting in front of the computer. I'm pre-logged in. I'm pre-signed in. I'm ready to go. I have it pulled up. It passes. The blue button to buy goes on, buy, hit, refresh. Bam, I didn't get it. It sold out immediately.
Is there bots? God. Have you heard of bots? I know that happens with like sneakers.
Obviously.
Which they kind of, I think they're cracking down on it. But like I know for like sneaker stuff and sneaker drops, they'll have these bots that just instantly just buy everything.
That's how I was able to get a PlayStation 5 like relatively early when it came out, because there were certain Twitter accounts that what they would do is watch like Best Buy and like all these different websites that it was programmed that whenever the listing website for PlayStation would change because it would go from not on sale to on sale, it would automatically tweet out, hey, it's available, and then I would go and get it. So it's, definitely there's no universe that there wasn't some foul play, fuckery to get this thing. But what I'm saying is it's like, it makes me feel good. I wear that jacket every time I go to my favorite event called MagFest, which is like a video game convention thing. And I've been going 4 years in a row. So 4 years in a row, I'm wearing this jacket. And there are people that they know what that jacket is. And so they'll see me and be like, that's a nice jacket.
It's like
you know
an insider,
what I mean? Like I know what it is because I know how hard it is to get it. And so
it took you a year and a half to get it. So you couldn't get it from the original drops. Did you get it like on a resale market?
They did it 3 times. And so I missed the first one. And then 6 months later, they did another one and I missed it. Well, I didn't miss it. It sold out. And then 6 months after that, I did it a 3rd time and I got it.
So can you tell us just a bit about because I didn't really know it existed, just the cosplay scene in the 757, how you got involved in it? Were you just a part of the community at first, then you started DJing and throwing your own events? Like, how did all that go?
Sure, man. I'm born and raised in Norfolk, Virginia, and I went to Maury High School, which is local high school, and my junior year of high school, I was in the newspaper because I threw a music festival called Mike Stock, which I didn't come up with the name. My friend did. I remember we were like walking down the street towards school and I was like, what should I call this thing? And in the most sarcastic way possible, he's like, just call it Mike Stock, man. And I was like, you said it. I'm doing it.
Off of, was it Woodstock, I think?
Yeah, okay, exactly. Yeah. Like Woodstock, but Mike Stock. And so ever since then, I'm always throwing shows. I'm always throwing parties. And so one of the parties that I used to throw was something called Starfire Festival, which was like video game, anime, and music convention. Because the thing is that I think that like one of the backgrounds I come from is like hippie festivals, like psychedelic American camp out experience. Right?
You doing psychedelics and shit?
I mean, I used to, right?
Okay.
But, sometimes, I don't know. I just feel like you can't get good shit anymore. So, okay. But back when it was good, it's more like, when you go to an anime convention, you're seeing people like, it's like the people at work. Like, remember at my show, there was this girl that was like selling random stuff that was in the corner. She had like a little stand. Okay. And so like, it's all about like people being creative. And so when you're looking at like anime conventions and stuff like that, people make like keychains and they make like t-shirts and they make like posters and art and stuff like that. And it's the same thing with American psychedelic music festival camp out experience, where it's like tie-dye and they're making like hat pins and they're making like certain shirts and like, hippie type of pants and stuff like that, or like whatever the hell they're going to sell. Right. And so I always think that those two worlds, like I always looked at it as like so similar. And it's just, instead of people like being fans of music and people being fans of, video games and fandom, like, and things like that. And so how I got into it was because like I said, through a lot of festivals, and I played in a band, and I wanted to throw an album release party for my band. And so we wrote an album, and that album came with a comic book that went with it. And we released that comic book and album at a music festival that we headlined. And
is this Mike Stock, or is this?
No, it's called Starfire Festival. Okay. So this
was it still in high school, or was this after high school?
No, 2018, 2019. This is when I had a lot of experience to do this, because I used to throw a lot of music events, a lot of music festivals. And then also I used to sit on the events committee of the Downtown 100, which is like Norfolk City Council. And then I used to sit on the events committee of something called Thrive, which is like the Norfolk Chamber. So essentially I used to throw government events. Like whenever you're meeting the mayor or you're meeting a city council person or things like that, like I'm the one that's logistics. Where is it going to happen? I'd call the venue. I'd say, hey, I'm about to bring like 100 people. Give us free appetizers. Here's the date. Make the poster. Get the sponsors and things like that, right? And so what I'm trying to say is like I got into it all just from throwing shows and, throwing parties that I want to throw. right? And I always like going to anime conventions, and I always like music. And so what last night was like a little slice of both. Like you had music, and then you had like cosplay, and a lot of times those two don't go together, and because people just don't do that, and I think that they could. So that's where that all came from. And like I said, like you, I grew up watching Toonami on Cartoon Network and things like that. Like and then I'm really appreciating some animes and things like that, and Marvel fandom and all that kind of stuff. And I never really considered going to anime convention as like a big party until I went to this event called MagFest, which I referenced earlier, which is essentially, it's been like 24 years since they've done it or something like that. It's like 60,000 people in DC. Okay. And it is the biggest fucking party ever. It's 24-hour party. And, I always, think that like being at a party is even better when people are all dressed up. So that's pretty much why, that show happened, was this project I have, TIARA. I'm like, I want to make this show different than the other shows we've done. And how can we make it different? I can partner with this, NecoCon event and get people to come dressed out and, charity. And that's how it's all coming like that.
When you drop this, just to back up a little bit, when you drop this comic book with your band, who did the comic book? Did you guys also do the comics too?
Sure. So no, actually, we knew a guy that lived in Texas that did a great job. That was a friend of a friend. And so pretty much like we were writing the album, and I was like, oh, like it would be cool if we did this comic book thing. And so I pretty much took all these songs that didn't have anything to do with each other and wrote this entire narrative about how it had stuff to do with each other. And then I just remember like doodling very, very crappily, what I kind of envision these things would look like, and then scanning it to this guy and him just literally reading my mind and coming out with this whole, publication that we put out. And, yeah, that's how that happened. So it was more like my band wrote the music, but then I wrote, how it would be a comic, and gave him the only direction essentially to art style. And then that's how that happened.
And it was like a physical comic book?
Physical comic that we gave out, with all the albums. And so the idea is that you read the comic while you listen to the album, and it all goes to, this whole overarching narrative that, we devised. And so the album, the story behind the comic was called Starfire. And so we named our festival Starfire Festival, which was to like essentially celebrate, comics, music, something that we made, something that I love, something that a lot of people can do, and put those two things together and made it like that.
So you throw this first event, Mike Stock, junior year of high school, the newspaper picks it up.
Yeah.
What was their... Did you like send it into them? What was their angle? Like, what did they
I definitely sent
it
into them. I definitely, yeah. I'm a promoter, man, so I'm always reaching out to everything I do. I'm shouting from the rooftops. So yeah, I reached out and I was like, hey, we got high school band, getting other high school bands, we don't have places to play at, we're under 18. Like there's no clubs, bars, like it wasn't like that. And still, especially in this area, it's not like that. And so I had to make something of my own. Right. And so I was like, I want to play. So the only way I'm going to be able to play and there's a big crowd is if I bring all my friends' bands, and we have to promote it and make a poster and do all the stuff that doing a show takes. And so I did that, and then I didn't really I played music in high school and like high school bands and didn't really think about it. And then I was going to Richmond and VCU for a year, and when I came back for summer break, my guitar player in my other band was like, hey, do you want to jam? And I'm like, sure. And he was at work, and his coworker overheard and was like, oh, hey, can I play too? And it's like, yeah, so why don't we come over? And I remember they came over and we got stoned as hell, and we just did like improv music, and it was fun. And I was like, that was great. So then a week later, we invited a bunch of our buddies, and we got like lights in the room, and, we jammed out again, and it was so much fun. And I remember I was like, oh, we should do an open mic night. And we're like, yeah, we should do an open mic night. And so I went on Craigslist and I looked up an open mic night.
Oh, Craigslist. I don't even know if Craigslist exists anymore.
Right. Open mic night that was at 37th and Zen, so I have a huge amount of history in that room. And the first open mic night, I remember getting there early, and like the guy, like there was like a list that you had to put on the list to play. And I remember like watching him like a hawk until right when he's putting the list down, I'm just going over there and putting my band third, right? Because you don't want to play first and you don't want to play second. And by the time the fourth and fifth band rolls around, people are kind of getting tired and want to leave. And
Why not second? I can understand
well,
kind of
because second,
first.
you want to get the people warmed up. I mean, back in the day, like 200 people used to come to open mic night.
At 35th and Zen.
At 37th and Zen.
37th
right.
and Zen.
Right.
Yeah.
And which is just absolutely insane to think about now. And so we started doing that. And keep in mind, like, all we're doing is improv jamming. That's all we're doing. And so then we had someone come and see us and got us at a big Norva show, and we played a Norva when, the headlining band sold it out, and so it was a big crowd for us. And then I just kind of dropped out of school and did that for 5 years. And
what'd you go to school for?
Political science. I wanted to be a lobbyist. And
Who wants to be a lobbyist?
Yeah, I do, because I feel like I'd be so good at, convincing people of my cause and, all that stuff. It's what I wanted to do at that time. And I'm really glad I'm not doing anything like that now. And, I know
people hate lobbyists right now. It's like,
they hate them all the time, but it's necessary.
Is it APAC,
right? Well,
the Israel lobby? A lot of people are kind of talking shit about that.
When you think of lobbying, you're thinking of like guns, you're thinking of like, drugs, you're thinking of like political like that. But when I think of lobbying, I think of positive things like medicine, lobbying for more money for cancer research, lobbying for more money, like that, right? There can be like positive, like all these forces, these giant groups of money that have a singular mind need to be able to deliver that idea and negotiate with, policymakers. And so that's what it's so crucial is like you could have, a big tech with, millions of dollars and, they want Congress to, make it so they can get microchips cheaper so that we can have better AI, right? But they need someone that's able to, articulate that in the right way to these very high up people, which is very intimidating and things like that. And so it's something I really wanted to do. And then I'm doing this band, and then that pretty much took over my life. And, this band, we played 500 shows, and I'm negotiating.
500 shows?
Yeah, 500 shows. So that means
in that 5 year span?
Yeah. So that means I'm spending more than a year of my life playing shows. There's only 365 days in a year. And so I'm booking every single one of them, managing every single one of them, tour manager, all of that, marketing, publicist, every single thing that had to do with business in my band. I'm the only one that did it. And
did you want to do it on your own like
kicking
that?
And screaming. Okay. I would cry to them all the time. I remember they're like,
bro, we just want to pull up and play.
After we did open mic night and we did that Norva show, I was like, hey, we should play shows. And I remember we're sitting just like we are, and they're like, great, we should play shows. I'm like, great, let's play shows. Great. All right. So a week later, I'm like, hey, did you guys think of anything to do shows? They're like, nah, man, I didn't. I haven't even thought about it. And I'm just like, fuck, man. I have to do it. I got to do it, or else it's not going to happen. And, but the thing is, I'm glad I was able to do it, because then I'd have total control, right? Like I would know all those people, all those connections, it would all be mine. Like that way, like, it's, for example, if you have like a booking agent and everything's going well, and then you get into a fight with him and that's it. Like you don't know those other bands, and you don't know exactly the venue owners, and you don't know, those other festival owners, like that's gone. Right. And so, looking back on it, I'm happy I did that. And plus I gained a lot of skills, which I use in my professional life. And now, with any other endeavor I'm doing, it's helped make me who I am today, to be able to go through that whole gauntlet of like, not only doing all that, but like playing all those shows and, living that lifestyle of like, what it takes to do all that. So
also on lobbying, I think a lot of people's criticism is like, for example, the APAC lobby, the Israel lobby, it's like it could be these people that are using money to get our politicians to do certain things that may not be either the best for the American people, or just like what may not be what we want. Just using that for an example. So it's like almost there's like these people with money that are controlling or telling the politicians what to do against what the people actually want to do.
Yeah, I think that money and politics is something that obviously shouldn't be intrinsically connected, but it seems like it's always going to be like that. And I wish that, it was more apparent who was giving money to who, so then we can truly see, what's funding things that we may like and things that we may not like. And, like I said, that's why I'm not really into that anymore. It was something I wanted to do, in high school. And that's when politics was a lot more palatable, you know, and it wasn't
Before it was so polarizing.
It wasn't so
and
personal, right?
yeah.
Like, for example, like, you know, there was a time that I wanted to run for office here, and I wanted to run for city council, and I thought I could make a change. And then I just thought about, like, that's just what I need. CNN, we're going live to Norfolk, Virginia, where local city council is voting on what gender can use what bathroom. And then, like, all of a sudden, I'm getting, you know,
Attacked and
blood on my doorstep, right? And people doing crazy stuff because it's so easy now to, like, macro the micro, right?
What do you mean
For
by
a
that?
whole nation to be focused on a little town. And so I just decided I didn't want to do anything like that. So
Another interesting thing you said too is music is not usually involved with cosplay
right,
per se.
right.
So what was your idea kind of with mixing the music scene that you love, future funk? Also, if you want to touch on future funk, because I think you kind of introduced me to that.
Oh
genre
yeah,
too.
it's a up and coming genre. I think that when you go to a well run music event, you're gandering at so much creativity. People making things, people drawing things, music, obviously, people's outfits, right? Think about like raver outfits. It's like a whole thing, right? And you want to look cool, right? Just like any music scene, right? When you think of a music scene, the first thing, in my opinion, you think of is their clothing. Like punk rock, you can imagine hair, what they're wearing. Death metal, you can imagine what they're wearing.
Elbows
right?
being thrown.
Exactly.
Girls getting punched in the face.
Right. And so, you know, fashion and stuff like that, it's all, you know, part of the human experience, which is enclosed in this microcosm of a scene, essentially. And I think that the two scenes of, you know, when I'm talking about going to like an anime convention and music is so similar. I go to an anime convention, it's a bunch of bubbly people and crazy get-ups, you know, creating, you know, different things. And I feel like it's all about, you know, how those two things do go together, in my opinion. And MagFest is called Music and Gaming Festival, the big one I'm talking about, and they get it, right? And so I think that there's, you know, a big world like that together. And future funk, I'm discovering it right when it's first. It's only like maybe 2012 is when it very, 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 very first began by, you know, some select pioneers.
Who are
And
the pioneers of future funk?
sure, Macross 8299, Young Bay. There's like a record label called Neon City Records. Android Apartment is another one I really love. And
Is there a certain city that this kind of came out of, or?
well, the thing is what future funk is essentially taking Japanese city pop music, which is like 70s disco, right? And lounge music, and speeding it up and adding modern electronic elements to it. And so what you're doing is you're essentially adding like 4 to the floor kick drum, and you're making the sound bigger, and you're making it faster, and you're making it more dancey. And so obviously there's a lot of Japanese elements to it, which is, you know, anime. That's why, you know, like my name's Tiara, which comes from Sailor Moon, right? Because the thing is with future funk music, it's a lot of it's like the visual aesthetic and the album art and things like that. It's all very, you know, has a certain style to it, and a lot of them use Sailor Moon visuals. And so I thought it would be, you know, a great way that I could call my project, just call it Tiara, which is how I'm getting all like that. And so, but I would say right now it's definitely a Japanese American, and it's Mexico too. There's a lot of artists that's in Mexico that has like a whole scene of it too. And it's like that.
So, okay, so I was at this event recently. Was that part of the future? I just want to get this right. Was
Sure.
that part of the Future of Funk tour, or was that a separate?
What
separate
event?
thing?
The one that
The one that I
you
was
went
at.
to?
Yeah.
Well, I wouldn't say it was a tour, like.
Because I know you went on a Future of Funk tour. It was like Richmond, DC.
Yeah,
Baltimore,
so that
Philly.
was something I did. Yeah, I you know, well, it was a way to get people to come and see what I'm doing, because this certain project that you met me, you know, is so niche. It couldn't be more niche. You know, it's a very niche genre. And then what an idol group is, like, people, they don't know what the hell any of that is. You know what I
What
mean?
is the idol group?
To me, idol is falling in love with each member individually, like NSYNC. You know, when you think of NSYNC, like back when they were doing it, you knew every guy. You know what their favorite food is. You know their style. You know the way that they talk. Like you fall in love with each individual member. That's like the point. Is like it's not just the group. It's like focusing on the individuality of each element to make, you know, whatever it is, right? And so, you know, we wanted to do that, and then also, you know, the outfits and is you know, a whole aesthetic that I wanted to deliver, and that's how I'm coming across it. And so when I first discovered this music, it was like, you know, back when it first came out, when I was still doing my band, and I remember, you know, it was something that it was like deep down in my heart, I would think about it. But even thinking about it was so ridiculous that I would cringe at just thinking about it. It was like, I felt like I was like
Thinking about what?
making the concept called Tiara, and having these two girls dance with me, because, you know, imagine like I'm in this band, like I don't know girls like that, and so like just thinking about it sounds stupid. You know, the whole thing sounds stupid. I'm in the suit, I'm in the space tie. You know what I mean? The way that you sound, like I dress the same every show. It's like the same getup, right? The same image.
I didn't know if you were cosplaying as somebody or if that was like
no, that's what I do.
Okay,
and so it's. Like, I remember I told my band about it. I was like, oh, I was thinking of being this DJ. I really love this music. And, you know, the thing that you're probably getting from me and the thing that my band understood about me is that I'm a very high energy person, and that, you know, I do what I want to do, and I do it, you know, I do it all the way. And they were like, well, Mike, if you start doing this, we're going to quit, because we know that you're just going to do that. Right.
And focus.
Focus on that when we need you to focus on the band. Because keep in mind, I'm the only one booking it. I'm the only one managing.
Without you, there is no
exactly.
Shows.
Without me, there was no band. Precisely. And so
also, I don't know if you said, what was your role in the band? What like instrument? Were you a singer?
Oh, I'm a drummer.
You're the drummer.
Yeah. And so what was so weird about my band was that, you know, it was improv, and so you pretty much paid to come see these three dudes figure it out on stage every night, you know, and sometimes it would go great and sometimes it wouldn't go great, but that was like the beauty and the magic behind it. You
that
know,
is not to cut you off,
moment.
But that is the beauty. That was like the sense I got when I first went to, because I do music too. I'm kind of like on hiatus right now, but like I was hitting a bunch of open mics, and there was this one open mic, I forgot. I think it was actually called The Venue on 35th. Have you heard of this?
Yes.
So they had an open mic there, and that was they had comedians, musicians, different people. So that was my first time seeing an open mic, like a stand-up comedian do open mic.
Right.
So I was always used to seeing professional, top-level comedians that just do a great job, and you're like, okay, this is cool. But this is the first time I saw comedians, like, I don't want to talk shit, but like that kind of sucked. And so it's like you see, I don't even want to say they sucked, but you see these people on stage. It wasn't polished. You see them on stage, and like you see jokes not land right, and it was like you see the silence and the awkwardness in the crowd. So it was like this level of like vulnerability that I noticed, and that was like, that drew me in.
Bombing's tough. You know,
but there's a beauty to it, like you're saying. Like,
yeah, exactly. Because when it lands, they're like, oh, you know, especially when even like a pro, when you see them doing crowd work, they're like, yo, where are you from? And then like they say, I'm from whatever. And then the guy says something funny, right? That's all improv, right? And I feel like, you know, the really good comedians, they're good at doing improv too. And, you know, you have the jokes, but then what if they have a heckler, or what if like, you know, anything, they see a weird looking guy in the front and they just want to, you know, just flame this guy just for the laughs, right? I think that it's a tale, you know, I think that it's a skill that a lot of good comedians have. And I think improv just in general is like such a gorgeous thing. I've lived so much of my life inside of it. And
so you're touching on transitioning from the band to DJing at these events that you're throwing.
So
and your band didn't want you to leave.
Band didn't want me to leave, so I didn't. And so I carried on until about 2019. At that point in time, my main focus was the music festival, because, you know, I mean, I had like thousands of people at it at this point, you know, so all year, Starfire Festival, the one that I threw, one of the ones I threw. And, so what happened was that, COVID happened, and I didn't want to play like COVID friendly gigs. Like, in my opinion, when you're at a show, the only thing you should be worried about is whether you're like too fucked up to be in public. You know what I mean? You shouldn't have to worry about like
social
a mask, or like I'm being too close to my buddy. I don't know this guy. Like, I don't know. You know, I didn't want to do that. And also
Shorty
remember,
gotta
like,
twerk on you from 6 feet away. That's crazy.
Or
like,
like
ass.
yeah, or like you know, those like drive-in shows, right? Like, remember when they were were doing that. That
I know
people
they,
would
I know
be
they
in
had
their
like a lot of
cars.
comedians doing like, I think Dave Chappelle and them were doing like outdoor shows. People were trying to figure it out like during COVID. It was a weird time, but yeah.
So glad it's not like that anymore. And so, you know, I didn't want to do that. And so what we did was we decided to make a Twitch channel where we made a studio in my house that was high definition audio, high fidelity recorded, and then also high quality captured from many different camera angles. And we essentially made like a Twitch show where we would jam and then we would talk to the audience and then jam again, and had all these other things. Like we did like snack time where like my buddy who was like a snack enthusiast would get all this random ass obscure snacks from all over the world, and we would try them on, you know, on camera and stuff like that. And then, you know, in order to be a Twitch partner, you have to stream, I think, 7 times a month. And we were doing this show once a week, and we didn't want to do anymore. Like that was way too much anyway. I mean, once a week, it's like fucking a lot, you know what I mean, to do something like that. And so we were thinking of ways that we could still broadcast and have content that's worth it, but we could broadcast a couple more times and that would meet that criteria to be a partner. And so we decided to listen to music and react to music, right? And so what we did was we'd put, you know, have all 4 of us and we'd listen to a song, and we would stop the song halfway through and, you know, give our general take on it, and then listen to the song and then finish it, right? So then after we did that a couple times, I had an idea to why don't we have a guest? Why don't we have a famous artist come and listen to music together with us and talk about it?
Was this the start of your podcast, or this is something different?
It's the start of my podcast. And so I remember I sent out like 70 or 80 emails to all these bands I liked, and one got back to me. And he's like, yeah, man, sure. Well, actually what we did was we listened to their music. We listened to that band's music and made a video of us reacting to the music and sent it to the band. And they're like, oh, we really like it. I'm like, great. Why don't you come on and we listen to music together? And so what we did was he came on, and it would be like, you know, like if we did it, it would be like you would pick 2 songs, you would pick 2 songs, I pick 2 songs,
From
and the guest would pick 2 songs, any songs you want, any genre, whatever the hell you want.
Okay. Also, who was it? Who was the person that responded?
This guy named Neil Fro Evans from a band called Dopapod. They're like a funky jam band that, you know, is big in the scene. They're based out of Boston, I believe. You know, because the arena that I operate in is Jam Band Arena, like Fish, The Grateful Dead. It's like this entire scene that I'm operating in. And so, you know, being in that game for so long, I'm knowing all the players, right? I'm knowing all the bands that are big, and I'm knowing all the booking agents and all the people that, because I'm playing with a lot of these bands, you know, and I'm playing a lot of these festivals. And so I'm doing all the booking. I have to know all that. And so, you know, once I have this guy on the show once, then I emailed, you know, all 80 that I emailed before again. And I was like, hey, I got this guy. Why don't you come on and 2 more bit? And so then what I started doing was I would have a guest, and then I would have other people suggest songs for him. So for example, I had a famous drummer, and then I reached out to 5 other drummers that were as famous, if not more famous than that guy, to suggest a song from any other artist to listen together. Exactly. So I would be like, okay, so now we're going to listen to this song, and this guy recommended it to you because he says blah, 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 blah. So let's listen. And it kind of became this whole listening session thing that we did. And so that's how I'm doing my podcast. And, then
and you're still doing these other streams as well alongside it.
No,
like
we stopped doing. No. I stopped doing the music because I broke up with my guitar player.
Okay.
So we stopped doing it, and then it's hard, you know, because the thing is like I'm really good at improv music because I've been doing it for so long. And I'm not trying to say this in any way, but I'm really good at drums. And so I learned that playing drums with people that aren't good at playing music isn't very fun for me because I'm not able, it's like trying to have a conversation with someone that doesn't speak the language. You're just kind of like, you're not getting a fulfilling energy exchange or idea exchange or whatever because there's just this language barrier, right? And so being able to find someone that is on my level, they want to get paid because if they're on my level, they're playing professionally for many, 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 many years. And, you know, my stream wasn't making money, so it was hard. It's hard to find someone that wants to do something regularly that has the skill level that it's pleasurable for me and the other guys to be able to play together with and keep, you know, they live in the area and, you know, keep a solid routine going. And so And then plus, like, I just kind of got tired. That's one of the reasons why I wanted to be a DJ again, too, is because I got tired of, like, dealing with people's bullshit and, you know, dealing, like, it's hard. Like, when you're in a band with someone, they're like your girlfriend and your business partner at the same time. And my wife doesn't like when I say things like that, but it's true, you know, because it's like, you know, not only do you have to be great friends and you have to, you know, perform together and, you know, you have to learn and, you know, like all this stuff, camaraderie, brotherhood, all of these things, you know, have to go into it. And it's really tough. It's a lot of pressure, especially as time goes on, like, you know, both ways. Like if you're not being successful, there's a lot of pressure. And then if you are successful, there's a lot of pressure. So it's like the more that and then also the more that you're doing it, the more you have to do it. Like that was something my band found out, is that the more successful we got, the more we had to keep doing it. Like, okay, we have to go on tour to pay for this album, to pay to go on tour, to pay for this album, to pay to go on tour, over, just like that over and over and over again. It just compounds. And then it's like your audience is getting bigger. You know, if you feel like you're letting people down, and it just can get like overwhelming. And it's, you know, it's really tough when you're dealing with other people. Like, you know, they could have like alcohol problems, or there could be personality clashes, or, you know, talent, they could not be good enough or hard to work with or whatever. It's tough, man, you know, and it taught me a lot about like, you know, boundaries and interpersonal relationships and stuff like that. And then also money, your business partner. So you're dealing with money, and when you're, you know, business partners with someone, it's already tough as it is.
So you're doing this podcast on Twitch. Are you guys uploading it to YouTube?
Yeah. We're more popular on YouTube than
more
Twitch.
popular on YouTube.
Yeah.
How big was your audience on Twitch?
Not very big. You know, it sucks. We tried really hard, and dude, like I did everything I could to try and get an audience. Like for example, like one hobby that I have is creating mechanical keyboards, so you know, like computer keyboards. Yeah. So believe it or not, there's an entire industry of custom keyboards. Every part about it you can customize it and make them quite gorgeous and make them sound and feel absolutely amazing, luxurious. Like, you know, the thing is, and let me just ask your audience who's like thinking that this sounds ridiculous, I bet all of you guys, you use a keyboard every single day, right? And so why not make it luxurious? Like you sleep in a bed every day, you make it luxurious and custom. You wear sneakers every day, you make it luxurious and custom. Like, how come you're skimping on, you know, your keyboard, right? It should be the way that you interface with something that you do every day. It needs to be, you know, on fleek. And
I think that's probably like gamers are more into, like my little brother.
Exactly.
If you're just
like
on
that
the
too.
computer watching YouTube and Netflix, you probably
don't give a shit.
Yeah, don't care
right?
about shit like that.
But you know, there's a lot of people that do care about computers, and there's a lot of people that like care about like custom computer towers and making their actual.
Like my little brother has
cool.
a custom keyboard, but he got a custom keyboard which like lights up and does all this stuff. But then he even ordered something separate, which was like, I forgot if it was actually different keys or it was something he put under the keys.
Like switch. You got different switches.
For the tap different. So when you press the keys, like so it feels different. Like the haptics are different.
Yes, sir. You're speaking my language.
And this is just kind of like, I don't really know shit about it.
Yeah, no. And so I'm the maker of the biggest English speaking keyboard community ever. It's a Facebook group that has like 30,000 people on it now.
Really?
Yes. It's called Mechanical Keyboard USA. And so what I used to do, dude, I got a lot going on, man. And so, you know, He's a
lobbyist, a fucking keyboard maker, a DJ.
Yeah. And so what I used to do was I used to reach out to all these keyboard manufacturers and pretty much be like, hey guys, like, you know, I got this big ass audience that's worth a huge amount of money to you. Give me expensive stuff to give away, and I'm going to give it away on my show. So that's going to bribe people to watch, because they see me jam out. We give away keyboard stuff. They see me jam out again. And that's how I could. So I'm just letting you know, that's like how far I went to try and make this happen, you know. But, you know, something about 4 overweight white dudes zoomed in playing music doesn't really as alluring, you know, as I wanted it to be.
What the fuck?
You know what I'm trying to do? You know what I'm trying to say though? It's pretty much what I'm selling here at that point, you know? And that's why I'm so excited about, you know, TIARA, because it's like, you know, like I said, you know, I'm trying to, you know, market this band of just like, you know, these not so great looking men playing, you know, improv music, and now I got these 2 cute girls in front of me.
I feel like being good looking is overrated though. It's like
what?
I feel like being good looking is overrated now.
I totally agree.
It's the era of my friend Young Raj has this brand called Medium Ugly. Mm-hmm. It's the era of medium ugly. It's time.
Totally agree with you. But when it comes to trying to scrape together a creative project that you need to gain traction, it doesn't hurt if you're, you know,
If you got a fat ass or, some big titties,
it doesn't hurt. You know what I mean?
So you're building these mechanical keyboards. How did you get into that? How did you?
It was a COVID
How did the
hobby.
Facebook group get big? What are you, like machines are you using? You're making all this.
Oh yeah. It was a COVID hobby, man. Like some people, did you have one? Did you have a COVID hobby?
I actually started my podcast in 2020 at the height of the pandemic.
Nice,
so that
right?
Became my hobby and my whole life really since then. Yeah.
Yeah, and some that's wonderful. And some people they I know baking bread was one for some people that they get really into baking bread or it's the thing is when you're bored you're just obsess over things, right? And that's what I do too. Obsess over a bunch of different stuff. And so I it all started with me seeing a custom set of it looked beautiful and I was like, wow, I've never seen anything like this. It looks so cool. And how is there more? How can I get more into this? And that has an entire scene and group and stuff like that of they have group buys. And so what it is essentially someone wants to make a custom part and so they get 100 people to throw $80 into it, and then 9 months later it's shipped to your door, right? And it's one guy that's making this whole thing, and so
wait, 100 people to throw in.
Yeah.
So wait,
on a group
buy to buy the keyboard or what?
Yeah, to buy this custom keyboard. So it's
how much does it cost?
Well, what they'll do is they'll say if you do the group buy, it's $80, let's say. But then after I make it, I'm gonna have left over, and then I'll sell that for $150, right? And so that's how the game that those people play. And so I was just there should be a community, and I went on Facebook and typed in mechanical keyboards, and it's wildly popular, in the Philippines and in Malaysia and then other places where they don't speak English.
It's
and
usually amongst the gaming community though.
Yeah, definitely. People, enthusiasts, computer enthusiasts, right, of any time. A lot of people use them when they're rendering and making movies and stuff like that and illustrations and things of that nature. And so, I'm making this group and started it with one, and I just kind of didn't really do anything. I posted it in some communities. I was like, hey, and then people just dogpiled in. And also the thing is I have a lot of experience moderating online forums. When I was in high school, I used to be the moderator of Grasscity.com, which was the biggest weed. Do you know what I'm talking about? Right. I was a moderator on Grasscity. So it was pretty much people posting about weed and bongs and all that shit. This was when I was in high school, and so I'm really, really, really good at controlling a community and making sure it stays positive and stays wholesome and stays good energy and, not bending to people that are bad actors or, they're not good for the community. And that's why I grew so fast, because the thing is with mechanical keyboards, you're often having young, socially inept kids with way too much money to spend buying this shit that doesn't really matter in the long run. And so they can get really toxic and they can get really weird about stuff. And so other communities just let it happen because they want to negotiate and they want to be the good guy. And I'm I got iron fist, dude. For example, I have a rule that you can't call anyone a name ever. You can't insult anyone personally for any reason. I don't care who's right, who's wrong. If someone insults someone 1,000,000 times and you defend yourself by calling him a jerk, I'm going to kick both of you guys out because you should know better, right? And so, it's like that. So that's why I think it grew to that, because a lot of these communities would combust because they would just descend into just kids yelling at each other and no one would want to be in it. And so I'm offering them, a way that they're able to do that.
Are you making these keyboards at home?
No, I'm not. Well, I did. I have 6 or 7 of them, and it's pretty much like Legos almost, but with soldering. So it's you decide the layout, every single part of it, you can customize it. How many buttons, where the buttons are positioned, what they do, what it's made out of. And like you said, your brother, you have it's called the switch where you put it. It's you have the computer and then you have the switch and then you have the key cap on top of it. And the key cap is what you see what it looks like. And there's a million different styles of the profile that it can be which means is it higher or lower? It's this whole rabbit hole that you would never even think about. You know what I mean? Do you like guns?
So.
I love guns. And so guns is the same thing where you can get into a rabbit hole on the springs, how much weight the spring has, or, the trigger, or you're taking out all the insides and you're making your trigger more better. And, you're replacing, the magazine with one that holds more. And you're replacing the slide with one that's made out of aluminum. So it's lighter. So it doesn't, it jumps a little bit better. It's just like anything. It's this whole rabbit hole that you can go down to and essentially waste your money. So.
So you're you were a moderator for Grasscity.
Yeah.
That's in high school. How did you get involved with that? Yeah, what else did you learn, I guess, moderating that you use?
Oh God.
Maybe in this Facebook group now.
It's just about, what I really learned when you're trying to moderate a group is that it's your way or the highway. Okay. Like the very microsecond that you start double guessing what you're saying, like you got to be like totally like a dictator, because the only people that care so much about the way that you're running it like that are the people that don't need to be in there. It's the 99% of people that just show up, they make a post, they get a couple responses, they have a question, they're happy, they used it as a resource, they leave. That's what I'm trying to cater to, right? And so what I learned is that when you get into the weeds of like arguing with people and you get into the weeds of like defending your action,
no pun intended.
It's exactly. It's, people will just eat you alive, man. And you got to learn that when you're running a community, the whole point is you want to make everybody happy and everybody, you want it to be a good resource for other people to use that don't care about how it's run or who's running it or anything like that. They just want to use it to ask questions and things like that.
Use it for it was intended to be used for. What was that other one? I don't know if I remember Grasscity. There was another one. I think you could go and like put in pills and it would tell you the type of pill it is.
Yeah, is that Arrowhead?
Arrowhead,
do you remember that?
I think that's the one I remember.
Yeah, and it has like drug experiences too that people write about. I used to read that all the time.
Looking that up, like, will this kill me? Like, what is this? Like, that was like the only question. Like, if your friend gave you drugs, it's like, will this kill me? Like, have people died from this? I don't know anybody that's died.
That's what was so wonderful about having pressed pills because, once a pill...
these days I would not fuck with pills, like none of that shit. Like, you can't trust it these days.
Exactly.
Like, anybody just making it in their fucking bedroom.
The thing is, like, random white powders, like, you don't know what the hell it is, but at least if something's pressed, then like you can't really add to it once it's like made. You know what I mean? Like if I make a bunch of ecstasy pills that's pressed, not like, powder and like a thing, but it's like an actual pressed old school pill, and I give it to you to sell, and then you give it to him to sell, and then you give it to the other guy to sell.
He can't alter
You can't exactly. It's
but
the same thing.
Also you can, from the beginning when you pressed it, you can make it fucked up. The person
well, that's why, for example, you can be like, oh man, like those blue Teslas, I wouldn't touch that, bro. My buddy got sick, right? And then it's like, it's easier, like you said, to go on that website. But like, if I got like, a bag of Molly and it's like some random white bullshit, like I can't go on Arrowhead and be like, hey, I got this bag of blow and with like diamonds on the bag. Can you tell me whether there's anything in it or not? Like, that's not a thing. So.
Yeah, I definitely don't trust pills these days, and a lot of drugs. I really just smoke weed these days. I'll dabble with psychedelics sometimes. But I definitely hear people saying that like this whole fentanyl wave right now is like from China. It's like China like wanting to kill Americans.
Well, and then the thing is like, at least back in my day, or the day, I'm not that old, that, if drugs, if like nose drugs were bad, it just meant like it didn't do anything. So you'd be like, oh man, I got a shitty batch and I didn't feel anything. Like that was like,
if it's bad, it kills you.
Exactly. Like the worst that could happen is that you didn't feel shit, not that you would fucking die, so it's, a sad thing. And I feel like, hopefully, they're able to figure it out. I mean, something, I don't know if you ever watched like videos of like, like Skid Row and like Kensington.
I've been to Skid Row.
Right.
I've been to LA like 4 times. I didn't walk through Skid Row, but I drove by, I took the bus through it. It's a sad sight. It's sad to see. And,
how are they throwing billions of dollars at this and it's getting worse?
I don't know if the money's actually getting to the problem.
Well, yeah,
it's getting to fucking, like we talked about earlier, like it's really just going in the pockets of these politicians.
If homelessness were, let me put it like this, if homelessness was figured out, a lot of people would be out of a job. You know what I mean? A lot of people who, they're supposed to help these people and provide housing, like that's like a whole industry that would just disappear. So I'm sure that, they're not trying to go anywhere, So, the thing is like, they're like, it's like drug rehab facilities or like Suboxone facilities, right? Like the more people that are hooked on this and the more Suboxone facilities, which that's a lot of money. And it's like, it's like, where does the line go from, if we really are genuinely helping people, then the problem's gone. But then if the problem's gone, then like, I got to do something else in my life and I need another way to feed my children. And, I can't do that. And so can get all
that's
fucked
like
up.
Fucking private prisons.
Yeah.
You hear all these stories of like, you hear the CIA was in cahoots with the record labels in hip hop to push a certain type of music to get kids hooked on certain types of lifestyles in order to lead them down the path that will end them up in jail. and fund and help these private prisons make money. So it's like a top down, just fucking corruption. That's hard to get out of that maze of corruption. Like,
the thing that I think about when I think about that is, you know, it wouldn't be so popular if the juice wasn't so sweet. And so what I mean by that is, like, right now, I want you to think of the most clickbaity bullshit you can imagine on the internet. What do you imagine? You imagine, like, you know, nudity. You're imagining,
right now it's probably like these wars,
right?
Dead kids,
exactly. Anything
like
designed to make you interact. You know, because that's all I think really right now online is it's all just desperate grabs for attention and interaction. Because, you know, when you post a photo of one side or another of some atrocity, like, the only thing that it's helping is the person making that post that's getting all of these attention, so then they can keep doing it. And, you know, I think that, like, you know, it's I mean, I like MF Doom, you know, a lot. And, you know, he's rapping about things that, you know, are more not in the direction of the things that you're talking about. You know, at least the music of him that I listen to, it's not so much like gang violence and killing people and, like, you know, whatever it's going to be. And so what I'm trying to say here is that I think that hopefully people will realize that maybe it's not, you know, great to eat the big juicy candy that's right in front of you that's gonna rot your teeth out. You got to eat your vegetables too. And if the only media you're consuming is, you know, things that isn't going to make you the best person possible and isn't going to place you in a position where you're around people that care about you, then, you know, it's you know, that's how it's not working out that great for people, I guess, you know. So
the thing is too, like, depending on like what type of stuff you consume online, like, you would think that's the only thing that exists. Like, they create a landscape where it's like, I don't know, it's like almost, it's like what's that word? Not rabbit hole. What's the
like an echo chamber?
Echo chamber. It's like they create all these different echo chambers, and it's like you get locked into, and you're like, damn, everybody believes this. This must be how it is. And then just like that's all you consume.
You know what's so weird? And like I think about that with, like, you know, if you like a certain president, even imagining the other president, you're just like, how can it be like that? But the thing is, like, 48% of people in the entire country voted for one team, and then 49%, whatever, 51 voted for the other team. And both teams, they're looking at each other like, oh my God, like, how could you obviously are an awful person who doesn't care about anything. And, you know, the only reason that both sides are being like that is because exactly what you're saying. Like, if I'm going on my Facebook and then I go on your Facebook, they're probably two totally different things. And then I think, you know, it's some astronomical number. Like, there's like 10,000 data points that they follow for each person. That's like wherever you go online, like, they're able to tell, like, the things you like and the things you don't like, and what importantly is going to make you interact, and what even more importantly is going to make you buy, you know? And so it's
they probably learn how to what it would take for you to believe a certain thing,
and then make an action to it. You know, for example, they're going to be like, oh, okay, I'm going to look at Mike. Mike has the certain type of demographic that, you know, if I
not to cut you off, if I make a video of Biden cosplaying, Mike might want to fuck with Biden.
But maybe if you make it with the other guy, then I'll fuck with him too.
Yeah, exactly.
But you know, but what I mean is, like, you know, I think that they are getting so good at being able to see who can be, like, radicalized on either side, right? Who can be, you know, manipulated to spend money, because that's what I think it's all about. It's all about money. It's all about who's going to click and bust out their wallet to support a cause or buy a certain thing or whatever it is. And so I wish I didn't have to go on the internet. I wish I could just, like, have, like, a dumb phone that's just like a flip phone thing, but
you can,
you know, but the thing is, I promote too much, and I need to know, you know, where the parties are at, and I need to know the promoters, and I need to be able to promote my shows. And so unfortunately I'm, you know, having to be, you know, stuck in there like that. So
it's like a double-edged sword. I've kind of learned to tune a lot of stuff out online. I'm doing my thing. I'm posting my stuff up, and I try to stay away from stuff that divides people, because I feel like that's the culture we were in. Like ever since Trump got in office, it was like this. I feel like I'm 28, so I don't know how really shit was like all the time, but I feel like things got super divided. It's like became like two Americas.
Can you imagine like being in like a middle school or high school like AP political science class, and then looking at like the past couple elections we had, and then like very seriously studying that? You know, it's like, how could you do that? You know, and it's like, I feel like that's why I got out of the game, you know, to begin with, like that. And, I think, like, for example, my buddy, I had a guy that lived with me in college during the year that I lived in Richmond. And, he got radicalized, man. He would, when there was certain hot button issues, he would literally walk around his neighborhood with a sign by himself, yelling at passerbys to acknowledge him of whatever the current thing of the month people were supporting, right? And he'd get mad like all the time. He'd call me and be like, "Oh my God, like, did you read this? Did you see that? You see they're doing this? Did you see it's like that?" And
Can you fucking believe this shit, Mike?
He'd get mad over and over and over again. I remember he called me one time and he's like, "Dude, I'm in this big online chat with like some friends I've been for years, and they kicked me out of it because I'm yelling about the current hot button thing of the month, and I think it's screwing me up, man." And I was like, "Dude, you just need to like literally delete your Facebook and just not talk about it.
Go touch some grass."
That's what I'm saying. Like, the more you're like looking at that, the more it's. Even if you don't want to, when you're consuming something, it's like going into your brain.
You're internalizing it. You become that.
Exactly. And it just becomes this self-feeding thing where, and
the funny thing is also the people that are at the top trying to get you, like trying to radicalize you, they don't even give a fuck about that cause.
Right.
And for them, it's about, like you said, money, control. Like they're just tricking. They're just using this cause as like a pony to get to their real goal. Yeah,
which, what I think it is like, let's say something happens, okay? Let's say, and I'm just going to use the stupidest thing possible. Let's say, something happens, some worldwide event happens. Instantly, you have pro and con. Right away. Like, there's no even difference. No matter how right something is or wrong something is, you have pro and con. And I feel like it seems to be like artificially made here. It's like somewhere there's organization that when something happens, it triggers them to create and organize both sides at the same time.
Debate.
To fight each other.
Well, you've heard that. I've heard this too. It's like, they were saying it was Russia, or they were saying it was Russia, but it's like there's these bot farms. Like they said there was like, I think it was like 90% of Facebook groups were like bots. So they're creating these bots profiles to make it seem like all these people are arguing about this topic, but it's really all bots, and both sides are putting in the talking points that they want everybody, like real people, ultimately to talk about.
Dude. Yeah, it's called like dead internet theory, where like I think something like 80% of everything you read online wasn't made by a person, right? And so
dead internet theory.
Yeah. It's like crazy. It's like pretty much exactly. It's terrifying, actually, really, really terrifying. And I feel like if I ever go on Twitter, I feel that way. I'm just what the hell is all of this? Who is doing that?
Who has the time to do this? Motherfuckers have jobs.
And so when people say like bot farms, it's such a easy way to whitewash something that's truly horrifying. Like, I read an article about it where it's like in Russia they have like a whole ass like facility. It's not like, some crappy Indian telemarketing shack. It's like a whole ass facility where you have rows of people sitting in front of computers, and they have a quota that they have like 11 or 12 accounts that they run each person every day. And those accounts, they have to talk a certain way and, have a certain side. And a lot of times they're fighting with each other. You know what I mean? That's it's to like just get people away from their identity, and like I feel like when you get rid of people's identity of like their security of like who they are and like their culture, and like when you get rid of a people's way to bond in that way, like their nationality and stuff like that, it's like it's hard to like it's easier to manipulate them and get them to do what they want, right? And so I think that hopefully people will get a clue. So
Hopefully. Okay, I know we're bouncing around a little bit. So this event that I went to, you guys had a costume contest, a cosplay contest there as well. The winner got tickets to this NecaCon festival. You touched on that a little bit. You said it's been the longest running anime festival in Virginia. How did you get involved with them? So you actually partnered with them for this event to get tickets there, or like how does that work?
I got involved with them because my wife, I met her because she started this thing called the Lovely Heart Maid Cafe. And what a maid cafe is something that was featured at NecroCon, and it's a Japanese thing. And what it is a collection of extremely cute, attractive women that dress in frilly maid outfits. Here, let me show you what it looks like. That dress in maid outfits. And what they do is they take over cafes, and they did it for charity where, you'd walk up and they would guide you to your table, and, there would be different things on the menu. Like they could, if you paid extra, they would like sing for you, or they would do a talent for you. And it's not sexual. It's just gorgeous yet unobtainable. Right. And so it's a thing that they did every year, and it would sell out at NecroCon every single year. Right. And so I had these girls. I remember I met them and I was like, oh, my God, like I have to have you at my events. And so they came to my events twice. And here, this is what they look like. They look like that.
So there's a cafe at NecaCon too?
Yeah, they take over the restaurant that's they used to do it. They don't do that anymore.
Hold up, okay, where's this going on at?
Right, that's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying, right? It's great. And
Bro,
so
like,
she's
pay extra?
Right, and so she's the one. So she's the one that how much to get your number? So
what are you doing after this?
Yeah. But they would say things like, oh, we're going back to Lovely Heart Maid Planet. You know what I mean? Like cheeky shit like that. And so she started that, and how I met her was that's how she's starting that, and that's how I got to know NecoCon, which is she's partnering with that event to do it. And I just we got chosen. We're playing on the main stage there this year, and so I was just like, hey, we should work together, and how can I take advantage of your audience while at the same time my event and what I'm doing providing as much value as I possibly can to your organization. And so that's just one step in many steps in the future that we're going to be working together.
So when is NecaCon?
November 1st through the 3rd.
November 1st. And that's in D.C., right?
No, that one's in Hampton, Virginia.
Oh, NecaCon is in Hampton?
Yeah. It's
really?
Right next to the Coliseum, at the convention center, next to the Hampton Coliseum. You should, man. It's fun. It's a fun little party.
Do you have another ticket?
It's $60. Yeah.
Okay.
They're, reluctant to, give away more. Just getting them to give away one was,
that's not bad though. $60. That's not bad.
It's not that bad.
Do you have to dress up?
And it's a few days.
You can just
no,
go?
but you should, and it adds to the fun. You want to have a get up. You know what I mean? You don't have to dress up as a specific thing, but if you just have like a cool ass
How
get
big
up.
would you say the cosplay scene is in the 757? Like how many people do you think are into it around here, if you had to guess?
Well, they get 7,000 to 8,000 people. So I'd say probably like 30,000 people or something, because
Really?
how many people are going to go to a con? But there's a lot of people. Fandom is huge, man. Like, because when you're thinking about what we're talking about, you may be thinking of like anime, but it's also like Superman,
Anybody,
anything like that, right?
Are people dressing up as like
yes,
actors from movies? Like
yes.
Anything
you could think of,
animated or like live action.
For example, at NecoCon last year, there was a guy that was dressed up as like John Travolta in Pulp Fiction. You know what I mean? And then with him was like the girl that had the syringe in her chest. That was Uma Thurman. You know what I'm trying to say? So it's just it's an excuse to have a get up that's not on October 31st.
That's fire. Okay, so I also seen you posted. You guys are starting a new project, releasing your first EP.
Yeah, I'm gonna start writing my own music. It's I'm learning how to do it. I'm extremely, extremely grateful and thankful because a gentleman that is in a band that I used to play with all the time is actually the owner of one of the officially licensed Ableton classes, online class I guess schools. And Ableton is a, the computer software. It's called a DAW, digital audio workstation, right?
Yep, I've heard of Ableton.
So, he started a new module. Each of the modules is like $350, $400. And he started a module that is designed for people that literally have never even opened it before. And it's a 10-day intensive module. Like I think I told you when you first asked me, to do this, I was like, I'm doing this class.
Yeah.
But shortly after this beta test started, the people in the class were like, hey, I have kids, like I can't do it 10 days in a row. So he did it, do it on your own pace, which is why I'm able to be here today.
And Ableton that's a music DAW, right?
Yes.
You make music in it.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, that's like the hardest thing about like even Logic, Premiere Pro. The hardest thing about getting into a DAW is like learning how to use it. Like you have to learn how to use it before you can even be creative.
It's like an instrument.
Yeah.
And so I'm grateful that I'm having this opportunity that I'm able to beta test and take this module for free from this guy that professionally teaches it for a living. And so, I'm learning how to do it right now. And so the idea is that we're hopefully going to have, an EP by November, because the thing is like I didn't want to write music. That's why like I called myself TIARA Tastemaker, because I wanted to be a tastemaker. I didn't want to be a DJ perhaps. I wanted to be someone that was delivering this aesthetic of this emerging genre in the best way that I possibly could, because the thing is like people that are good at writing this type of music, the way that they're performing and the way that they're presenting themselves, to me isn't the greatest way to present the genre.
And we're talking about future funk.
Future funk genre. And so, that's why I have the getup. That's why I have the girls and the music that I pick. It's to deliver an entertainment that's hyper razor focused on a specific aesthetic. And, that's all I ever wanted to be. And so I remember I played in Richmond, and a gentleman that, I'd look up to, his name is John Reinhold, and he was backstage with me, and he's like, why don't you write music, man? And I was like, I don't know, man. I don't have the time, and I don't have, I just want to do this. Like, I'm dancing with the girls, we're selling tickets, like, whatever, it's fine. I don't give a shit. And so he's just like, dude, like, why would you put all of this time, energy, money, and effort if you're not going to go all the way? And then I'm like, you know what, man, you're right. I should go all the way. I mean, imagine what you saw on Saturday, but imagine the girls having custom microphones in their hand that's glitter, that's to their color, and they're singing. You know what I mean? Wouldn't that just make the whole thing so much better?
It would be fire. I also noticed that I don't think any song you played that night had vocals. It was all just music.
Well, the thing is, it's what I like to call plunder phonics, which is creating music off of samples. And so when you do that, you're frequently chopping and screwing it so much that, the thing is like a lot, like traditionally music that I like doesn't have lyrics. I mean, some of my favorite bands do, but it's a lot of dance music doesn't, like especially like EDM, you'll maybe have like a girl or like a vocalist that says like some profound line or two, you know what I mean? And then like, that's it, right? It's not like a band where it's like, verse, chorus, verse, right? So, but yeah, you're right. It's not a lot of vocals in there. So that's why I'm trying to change and have vocals so people can sing along. And the girls, one of the girls is amazing singer. And then my wife is a great rapper, believe it or not. And so, we thought it would be so funny if we're having singing and rapping and what we're doing.
Was your wife at that event? Was she one of the girls on stage?
Yeah, she's the blue one. My wife
one of the
is
two
the
that were on
blue
stage,
one.
right?
Yeah.
Okay.
She's the blue one.
Okay.
And then the other one is her bridesmaid and best friend. And so her husband, that's like the four. So he's like the one that does everything when we're not on stage. Like he's like our videographer, and he's the one that goes up and says, oh, the sound's not good enough, or all these lights aren't doing good, or whatever. Like whenever you're performing, you need someone off stage. It's just as important to like make sure that they're doing things. It's just, making the, security, making sure, like if at Zen, some random crazy fucker jumped on stage to want to give one of the girls a hug, who the hell is going to stop him? That he is, right? And so, I feel fortunate that this project that I'm doing, it's with people that we're really, really good friends. And so, it's a well-oiled unit that, we're going for it.
Also, I really like that venue. You said 37th and Zen, right?
Yeah.
I know you said you have a lot of history with them. Do they let other people throw events there? Like, I feel like I could definitely do some cool stuff there.
Sure. So, I don't really know the answer to that question. I know that they don't have that many events, as many as they should, for how gorgeous of a room it is.
It's kind of perfect. It's like
it's like a nice little
exactly.
It's not too big.
You got like
and the outdoor is nice.
Sections. Yeah.
Right, and it's in a nice spot. It's right near the college. I know that when I announced events there a couple when I my first show was November 23rd. That's the first TIARA show I did there. And this whole project that you're seeing, it's less than a year old. I made the first phone call, to Rachel, the Ruby, the girl that's in the red, to propose her to do this like in the middle of July last year. Just the phone call, and then we made music video and we did all that. And when I booked the show, someone called me and was like, "Oh, like I try and call them all the time, and they never want me to do shows." But I'm very familiar with the landlord, and my band I used to run Friday nights there. I used to do something called Friday Night Dynamite, where my band called Galaxy Dynamite would play every single week, and then we would have another band come in from out of town. And so, I'm throwing tons of shows there, and so they just said absolutely. And it's essentially my little playground now. And they're giving me any Saturday I want, and it's I feel really blessed because I look at it as like my canvas to be able to continue to be creative and throwing parties and making music and all that stuff.
Hell yeah. Maybe we could talk more about that off cam. Hell yeah, bro. I appreciate it. Is there anything else you want to touch on? Anything else you want to leave the people with? Is the podcast still going? Can people go find that on YouTube?
You can find it on YouTube.
Find them at NECACon on the main stage. November 1st
through the 3rd.
This year.
Yeah, I'm not doing my podcast anymore because I think like we talked about this a little bit is that I was doing it way too much. Like again, I'm a very high energy person. I do things as far as I can go. And with this show, like you guys know, like doing what you're doing right now, which is aligning your schedule with my schedule to be here to do this. And then all the work you're about to do to edit it and put it up and do all that stuff, like is tough, man. You did 200 episodes, you know what it is. And so my podcast, very, very quickly, I started getting very, very famous people on my show and people that I couldn't say no to over and over and over again, I have like 50 episodes I haven't published just because they're just sitting there. I used to do it 3 times a week.
Are they already edited?
No. So they're just the raw video and I have to go in and I have to, edit the audio, make it sound nice for the podcast. And then I have to go and, chop it up for the YouTube video. And, it's just so much work. And because the thing is like, I wanted to make so much content that I could be like, great, I'll just take, a month off and then I don't have to film. I can just, this giant repertoire of things that I have. And so I pretty much just burnt out everyone around me. My partner got so burnt out because I was doing it so often. And, my fiance, then wife, it sucked for her because I was doing it all the time. I mean, she, God bless her heart, never said a thing about it and is always so supportive of everything that I do. But I can see it, like she doesn't want to come home from a long day's work and, I'm holed up in my studio with the guys, like filming again for the 3rd time that week. Like it's not very fun for her,
I get it. And, burnout is a real thing.
Exactly.
Doing creative stuff.
So I'm not saying I'm never going to do it again. I'm just saying like it feels bad to continue when I have so much good stuff that I haven't published yet that I need to get around to doing it. And, doing this stuff with TIARA that we're talking about, it's not going to make it any easier for me to, divert any amount of time, energy, and money into, going back and publishing this podcast. But I'd like to once again do it, especially because even now when I look at my email all the time, I'm having people and publicists, like what happened is something I knew would happen, which is that all these publicists put me on some kind of list that whenever they have anything going on, they just email me and it's like this world famous artist is like, hey, can he come on your podcast? Because they email all the other podcasts and, it's like, it's hard to say no. And, even when I look at it, it's like I get these weird pangs of like FOMO because it's like, damn, I really want this person on my show. I'd love to listen to music together with him. It'd be so wonderful. And, but then I just think of all the stuff I haven't published yet and it just paralyzes me. So
edit that, man. Edit them podcast episodes. That's why I also like being paralyzed by having a bunch of stuff. That's kind of one of the reasons we film and drop. I don't like sitting on stuff for long at all. Every time, like this is coming out on Friday. You know what I mean? And that's how we do everything. Film and drop, film and drop. The longer you let it sit, the more you start overthinking it. You want it to you want to find this like perfection, which doesn't really exist. And you just can become paralyzed, like you said.
Yeah, it's hard. hopefully I'll one day get back into it.
Hell yeah.
You know?
I appreciate you, bro. Thank you for doing this.
Thank you so much for having me on your lovely podcast. It's been so wonderful to meet you and to be in this great studio. It's so awesome looking at it online and then now being here in person. And, you know, I just really appreciate having this conversation. And if anyone's listening to this and wants to check out anything I'm doing, just Google TIARA Tastemaker and hope that you can love what I'm working so hard to create.
Hell yeah. All the bros links will be in the description. We appreciate you guys for tuning in. Come out to NECACon, November 1st. He'll be on the main stage. Yeah, we're going to get some more of this pizza. Thanks for the pizza again.
Oh, you're welcome, man. It's the least I can do for this great opportunity to be a part of your program.
Hell yeah. Thank you, bro. We'll see you guys soon. Peace.
Bye-bye. Oh, great. I was looking 'cause